Think you're ready now?
Mm-hmm. Peace, peace, peace. Here, and I'm with my boy Ty Schmalls behind the cameras with 97 frames, and today we're going to go bless the spot, the wonderful event that Melanated Money Mondays is hosting, a labor of love. So we out here in North Charleston. We're going to go be visiting 3747 Ashley Phosphate Road, because that's where the event is happening. We're going to be having live music, vendors, food, and a special guest speaker, author of Our Black Year, Maggie Anderson. So definitely come out, check out the spot. We're gonna go break bread with some of the business owners out there and see what's going on.
The group, if I talk about what inspired the event, I'd have to talk about actually how the group was formed. It was basically out of anger, hurt, frustration, and then finally it was like, okay, you got to do something, because at the height of this when George Floyd and everything, the founder of the group, Kalani Reynolds, she actually, someone challenged her with a question on social media. And they basically said, well, what would you have done, or why don't you do something? And that night, May 29th, May 29th, she formed the group Melanated Money Mondays. The purpose of the group is to promote and support Black-owned businesses, whether it's a mom and pop, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's an established or someone who's a crafter. She just wanted to, we got to do something, within our community. I don't know what to do, but this is my idea. And since inception, we've amassed over 48,000 members, and this is in 27 states. These are Black-owned businesses, and also not just our Black brothers and sisters, but our other brothers and sisters, our white, multicultural, that's in support of the Black-owned business movement. So the Labor Day of Love event is where you are right now. Basically, that we want to do something that we can do annually. And what we if you look closely, it says the reunion. Because the inspiration behind it is, as a Black community, typically we have reunions, family reunions. And if you think about family reunions, we may have different ways that we live in our homes. We have different rules. Some people eat at the table, some people don't, But when we come to a reunion, our home rules are thrown out, and we're all there just to come and have fun together. We may believe different things. We may have different political beliefs. We may have different religious beliefs, But when we come together for a reunion, it's just about family. And so these events, because we're in 27 states, we are already projected to have simultaneously Labor Day every year in different cities around the U.S. And that way, no family will go without being a part of the reunion. So if they're traveling out of town, all they got to do is look up in that city where the reunion is happening for Labor Day. And so that's why it's called a Labor Day of Love.
Lost or stuck in certain ways they don't care to be, but being receptive and just accepting things for what they are and no guilt holding, it allows them to free themselves.
Rose, what's your last name?
Robinson, Rosa Robinson. Oh, BDGB. We're on Facebook, BDGB, and my email is novem2057@at.net.
here with
JJM Art and Via Hustle. How y'all
Let's
doing?
Go. All right, so we're out here talking to him about his artistry that he have. Tell us a little bit how you got started.
So I've been drawing all my life, ever since I was a little kid, drawing cartoons and stuff like that. And I moved to New York, and I pursued that art dream for about 4 years, and I moved back to the South, so I'm back in the Carolinas, just kind of trying to bring other artists up, and also just trying to do my thing down here as well. Streets, doing subways, I did maybe over like 50 art shows, traveling to different states and stuff, doing artwork and art shows and stuff like that. So I've been traveling a lot, just trying to get my artwork out there, my vision.
So what type of things inspired you as you continue on? So you went up there about 4 years. It may have started with love, but then like what items did you pull from your travels and stuff like that?
So I've always been influenced by hip hop. So I listen to plenty of hip hop. So I draw a lot of artists. I go to concerts and try to meet them and be like, hey, this is the art that you made that I want to just show to you, you know?
Right.
In the future, I'm gonna paint a lot more. Most of my artwork is done with pen and marker. So I'm gonna paint a lot more. I also want to bring out my Via Hustle brand. I want to make it more like a collective. So if someone needs something like a videographer or like a spokesperson or a baker or something, you can come to me, and then I'll have like something where all the creatives, you know, something like that. That's in the future. I want to have like a hub for creatives because it's hard sometimes.
Oh yes, the think tank,
Yeah.
incubator. Yeah, we had some of that up in. We have a nice incubator up in Massachusetts area. A lot of our military, like our Air Force, are meeting with some of the corporate leaders, like the Google people and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they're coming together to help us, mostly with our stuff for the military. But they are also taking on that same thing, forming incubators, and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's good that you're going that way in the future as well.
Yeah.
So I thank you for your time. I look
That's no
forward to
problem.
seeing more about it and working with you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
So, as Kalani said, my name is Chandra Scott. I currently work as the Voter Protection Director with the South Carolina Democratic Party. As she said previously, before that, I was Executive Director of the ACLU of South Carolina. So I am really involved with civil rights and advancing what we need to do as a community and as a collective. So basically what I want to talk to you today about is two things. First of all, voting. We're going to talk about voting and basically what your options are in South Carolina. So here in South Carolina, you have the option to vote in person on the election day on November the 3rd, or you can vote absentee. You can vote absentee in person, or you can vote absentee by mail. Now, I know you've heard a lot of information and a lot of communication and fake news about the mail and the USPS system. My advice to you, if you're going to do it by mail, just to do it early. You can also vote in-person absentee, and that starts as early as October 5th. And our absentee voting in South Carolina is by excuse only. So when I say excuse, that means your excuse is you're going to be on vacation, or your excuse is you're going to be working on election day, or you're 65 years of age and older. So as of right now, those are the excuses. And you can find a whole list of the excuses at scvotes.gov. However, I filed a lawsuit that will expand absentee voting and hopefully get everybody the ability to vote absentee due to COVID-19. So once we win that, because we're going to claim that, once we win that and we get the Senate to pass that and we get the House to second that, then we will be able to all vote absentee. And so I say all that to say this: make a plan. Everything that you're hearing in the news is an act of voter suppression and an act of voter intimidation. So when you hear 45 saying things like law enforcement needs to be at the polls, that is intimidation. We are dealing with a lot right now in regards to police brutality and killing of our African American brothers and sisters. So if we're hearing that there's going to be law enforcement at the poll, that is an immediate reaction to us. I don't even do crime, and I don't want to be around the police. So when I hear that, that makes you feel like you don't want to go. That is the intended purpose of saying these things. And by the way, that's illegal. You hear 45 saying, oh, well, there's voter fraud, so make sure you vote twice. That is a federal crime that the president is telling y'all to do. That's crazy. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we understand all of these rules. We are in a different space right now. As a collective, we are advancing mentally, physically, and spiritually. So the things that we have done or have been complacent about in the past, that is no longer acceptable, which is why we are here today for Melanated Mondays. We need to realize our collective power. We put our money back into our own community. I know you've heard how the Black dollar only stays in the Black community for 6 hours compared to other cultures. So we have to protect our own, and we have to pull together and make sure that we are supporting each other. And the way we can support each other is to pay attention to these politics. I know a lot of us feel like this political world wasn't built for me, wasn't built by me, so why should I participate? That is the intimidation that they want you to keep on feeding into, so you can block yourself from getting the knowledge, and then you won't be able to effectuate change. If we are able to infiltrate all of these boardrooms, all of these seats at the table that we're supposed to get, then we have to start paying attention. Y'all seen the movie Hidden Figures. Black woman would send people to the moon. Like, period. So we don't get that recognition. All we hear is slave, slave, slave. And we get that. We understand where we came from. But we've done, and our ancestors have done so much to put us in this position. So now we're here with business owners. We have photographers. We have a Black-owned business. We have Black lawyers. We have Black doctors. We have authors. There is no excuse anymore for us as a community, as a collective, to be blind to anything that's going on.
And I have representations of
the International African American Museum that's being built here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes, y'all. So please tell us a little bit about that project.
Yeah, so the International African American Museum has been on the table for the last 20 years. So sometimes we think, when we start hearing about museums being built, that it just kind of started then. Well, 20 years ago, there have been people seated at the table, conversations about what it would be, what would be a part of this museum, what the name would be. So it took 20 years, literally, for all of that to come together. And most of the full-time staff have been on board for the last 2 years. But we've had, CEOs throughout the time to kind of help manage the project with a board and an advisory team and consultants. But we're really excited now because we now have a frame up of this museum. Which, for all the years that people have been talking about it and raising funds,
Manifestation.
now there is a frame that's in place. So we recently just had the signing of the last beam. People could come and sign the last beam that was going to be placed on the frame of the museum. So it's real. It's there. I encourage people to go by, check it out, and just see the progress. Take your own pictures and videos so that it becomes a part of your history and your family that you saw this building come to fruition. But the International African American Museum is a site of consciousness because the very site where the museum is being built is where our ancestors literally stepped foot on the ground when they got off the ship. Yeah, so it's sacred. It is sacred. We're awakening their spirits. We are telling the untold stories of our African ancestors and even our current history, those untold stories that we didn't learn in our schools and we weren't taught at home. So we want to continuously tell the known stories and the unknown stories of our people so that people will come to this museum and just be amazed at the accomplishments that our people have done and what we're continuing to do even now. We have we have many features of the museum, but one of the main parts is the Center for Family History. And what that would do genealogical research. So if you're looking to do research on your family, then we will have people who will help you begin that process.
So like AfricanAncestry.com, that goes back to the tribes?
So we won't do the DNA testing, but we have partnered with several of those organizations that can assist you with your DNA testing, but the research, the names, where you're from, and great-great-great-grandparents, and aunts and uncles and whatnot. So we will help you do your genealogy research. And that is amazing because you will be able to determine where your ancestors have come when they came into this country, where they lived, and then who your current relatives are as a result of the descendants of those folks. Yeah.
And me as a realtor, one of the things that we deal with right now is heir property. Because a lot of the land that's been passed on has not neighborhood that's faced with the widening of a road that may cross.
And Mount Pleasant, right?
Right.
Is it Phillips Community? Yes.
And that's why I'm actually on the diversity, equity, inclusion task force. I'm very involved. I may have just came back, like relocated from the DMV area, like military, but I'm like, this is why I want to choose to be a part of a community.
Wonderful,
You know,
wonderful.
And with the ancestry thing, like last week we actually just did an ancestral ritual out on Sullivan Island to give thanks and pay homage to ancestors that they have lost their way during that pilgrimage journey.
Yes. Yeah. We decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this. You know, or I can't do this, or we're forced off this, for whatever reason. Yeah, and it's a continuous thing. We have to pay homage all the time because we stand on their shoulders, we stand on their backs, and they sacrifice far more than we could ever imagine, and went through more things than we could even tolerate now. So we have to pay homage all the time. We have to give respect, and we have to tell our story. You know, we have to do that.
And with that, the origination of the story, because I went to the museum in DC, and I was a little like, where did this story start? We started way before that. So my question is, where is the origins of the story starting for us at the International Museum here?
So we believe that we're going to start from the continent of Africa, that we're going to tell the story about people prior to being enslaved.
Yes.
And so, you know, because we want people to, you know, I went to an event one time and I was sharing that we were philosophers and doctors and, you know, mathematicians, all these wonderful things prior to enslavement. And this woman said, and in all honesty, she said, I just did not know that. I did not know that. I didn't even think about life prior to enslavement. All I always knew was when the person was enslaved and they came to this country. I said, some people came as holy people. So they were living a life in various places prior to being enslaved. So there was life happening and wonderful life happening. So we want to be able to go back and tell the stories from the continent and from the various continents on back to America.
And I'll add even a little to it because throughout my self-research and study, we've been here. Like, not all of us came over on slave ships. We've been traveling these waterways. We've been set up, and we are native to this land as well as the land in Africa, as well as the land in Australia,
the Caribbean, everywhere.
We've been native to this entire earth.
Right.
So that's why when I look at us, we are the original of the entire globe.
Right.
So
we have to tell our history. We have to talk about our history. It's important for us to learn because even if you didn't get it, then there are people in the community and around you who can help teach you, help educate you. And so we have a responsibility to teach and educate our loved ones as well.
And it's a beautiful thing right now because we are homeschooling. So we get to have control of the extracurricular
what goes in our children's heads.
We get to teach them. So stand on that square.
That's right. And connect with other people because you don't have to know it, but there are other people who do. So connect with them so that maybe they can come and teach something one particular day. Or you could host an event via Zoom because the kids have their laptops and Chromebooks. So there are many ways to begin to educate our children so that they can be proud of their heritage and their legacy.
We're going to have to come visit you.
Please.
The crew down there.
Early 2022. We would love for people to become chartered members. Individual chartered memberships are $25, and for organizations it starts at $250. So a $25 meal we spend just about every other day. So put that $25 towards a chartered membership, so your name is a part of the museum for life, and you can do it in memory of a loved one as well.
I like that.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all.